All right, we're going to begin in our restorative class with some soothing approach to our back care. And when we do back care in these classes and restoring, we want to actually do some gentle, nourishing back bends. So what I want you to do is have a bolster across the mat. You need a standard flat bolster. Don't use a round bolster for this one. And a couple blankets at the back. I'd stack them up as high as the bolster to start, and you can always go down lower if you feel like, I'm going to see if I can open up my collarbones more. So this idea is opening up the front space to help the back space, okay? Because the back space is feeling tension. It's usually the anti-gravity muscles need a little love. So we're going to sit on our block in front of the bolster. My block is at the lowest setting right here. It's next to it, connected. And as I lower back, I have to be a little careful because it doesn't feel the best as the best on my tailbone. So when I lower back, I kind of find my way to get my ribs supported and get my head back pretty much as soon as you can, because you can adjust these middle parts after you get your head to rest back, because you don't want your neck to strain. So when you are reclining and you're creating this elongation station in the front space, right, this area can feel a lot of rounding as we get older. Another day, a little more rounding. And that is not the greatest in cumulative effect for our back. So take your time to either straighten out the legs. If you have a wall, it can be extra special for supporting and giving yourself some feedback into the whole musculoskeletal leg systems. Okay, right? Kind of feel the system of connection into your feet. If you don't have the wall, you just let the heels rest down. And then if you have a sandbag, whether your knees continue to stay pointing up or extending down, either is fine, okay? Yeah, so if you feel better with your knees bending and you begin the chest opener, you can. If you want to stretch out the hip flexors, eventually letting the legs straighten down, and you might even separate them a bit more than you thought in the beginning, and just feeling what amount of separation is comfortable for the abdominal muscles and the deeper root into the psoas, so you can feel that connection in the lumbar spine. So my arms open out. I've got my belt somewhere around here. I'm going to grab a hold of that. Now you can also have your sand here. So let's say you're going to keep your knees bending the whole time, not the whole class, but for this period of experiencing the muscles, you could have the sand here with circulation in the diaphragm. So it's like right below the rib intersection, belly, navel. Okay, you can keep it there. So I'd say try both spots for the sand, and then you're the decider. And feel the developing movement. I kind of like this with the sand higher, because when I breathe in, I can feel the quality of circulation in my lower back right now. So, this gives you any touch on the body, you can get inner feedback with circulation, which I find to be pretty fascinating. So I hold the belt, and I'm going to give myself a generous amount of width here holding the belt. So just slide my hands out as far out as I feel comfortable. And I like this blanket under my arms. This is good. Okay, and I'm just going to center the back of my skull. If I decide to move that upper blanket away, I might in a few moments. And then just as you close your eyes, centering the upper respiratory muscles through the breathing process. Remember, you can shift your props at any time. You can move your sand to a different spot in the front space. You can go minus the belt, which I think I prefer. Arms open, relax the shoulders, or you can hold it. As we're centering in our first pose, just feeling how receptive you are to your breathing cycle. Try to weave this into the focus right now, breathing and relaxing on the exhale. Now feeling where the bolster touches the back, right? It might be upper back area, right? It's going to feel like it's not quite on the shoulders, but maybe the lower basin it could be touching, right? It's not all the way up at the neck, but it's quite high. So feeling the orientation of your breathing muscles kind of pushing into the bolster, right? If I have a sandbag, it makes it even more interesting, right? So then I have the kind of the sandwich, the sandwich, right? I've got the sand in the middle or the sand on the top, and it's pushing into my body so I can feel the response in the top and the back with the bolster. So our skin, right, can really get that response, the feeling, which I think is what I like about the prop so much is, that's good for the lymph system. It's not aggressive pressure. It's just touch, assuring touch, consistent touch into the body. Okay, so let's take a few more breaths here. We're going to be coasting all around the ribs. We're going to go from back space to side space. And then I call some of it inner space work when we do other work, the twists and the inversions. All gentle. Okay, now if you're holding the belt, let it go. Give yourself at least a few moments where you can feel the shoulders trying to actually kind of lift and roll back and down. Okay, so the arms would be out in almost like this goalpost position, right? And feel if you can actually bring the shoulders up, kind of shrug when you're on your back, and then feeling them drop back to the floor. I still feel the bolster under the lower blade. So I kind of like that reference to feel my blade kind of press back and open the chest. Okay, now for certain, we're going to walk our feet in. So as you bend your knees, if you have the sand at the thigh lids, okay, move the sand up to just below the rib space, right at the belly, and take a few moments just feeling that inhale, like you're trying to lift the sandbag because you're doing weight training for the breathing muscles. Of course, if you don't want to use sand, that's okay. You don't have to pile your hands on it, but kind of feeling that resistance in the abdominal muscles. New way to strengthen the abdominal muscles, right? Put a sandbag on them. Okay, now as we shift, we're going to just push our sand over to the side yard, to the left. And we're going to lift the hips, and I would recommend first things first, just slide the block away, put it overhead, and feel as you move through the contour, right, of all these round contouring areas in our body, the curves. We're going to roll into the curve of the rib to the left, okay? You're going to slide your left elbow down between the bolster and the blankets, and we're going to pull the blankets in so that you have adequate amount of support and height for your neck and your head, right? It's not just your head lifting. You also want your neck to feel supported. So I think the block on the other side is a so-so idea. I've now gotten to the point where sometimes I try to hold the block for 10 seconds, but then it feels like I need to move. So take a ball. Don't get too side sagey yet, actually. Get the ball on the left rib cage. Lean in. I know we're already there. We're already like, I'm ready to take the side nap. Okay. Put the ball on the left rib cage and bring the thighs to touching so they're in more of that fetal position to the left. And we're going to do a little rib rollout. So my left elbow is bending, elbow touches the floor. And I'm taking some half rotation. So my left palm, I'm trying to get the palm down, but it's trying to turn open. So these are other ways we can work with our wrist, which is not pushing down into the wrist, right? Can you feel like the hand is down, left hand, but I'm not putting force into my wrist. It's more in placing weight into my forearm, more so my elbow, actually. Okay, so kind of feel the forces. And feel the rotation. And go slow. If anything's cranky here, stay with the uncranky spot. So if I twist too much to the left, I kind of feel where it gets a little bit uncomfy. So that's my limit right before the uncomfy. And then I just come back open. So you might notice, wow, when I turn towards the ceiling, this is where it's better on my back. It's the opposite of the twist down, it's the twist open. I can't guarantee it, but I think it probably is a little better. So now come on down, get the ball, and now we're going to slide the left thigh way up to the bolster so it's touching against it, not on top. Other ball goes down to the right inner knee. And when we're leaning in, I want you to take your sand to your right hip and place it. Now, I would say some days placing the sand across feels better than lengthwise. So let's say your lower back, sacrum, sacroiliac, kind of past lower back area between back and hip is a little cranky. Have the sand pretty low but across as a it's like a brace, right? Because the sand can be used as a brace if you're achy as well. You don't only use it for yoga class. You can try it for other things too. Okay, now as you're leaning in, you're going to stretch the right arm overhead, maybe. Yeah, maybe the block will be in a good spot for you, maybe not, but as you're reaching overhead, elongate from the armpit down to the hip and feel if it's elongating more at the hip. The armpit doesn't have a sandbag near it, so it's probably hard to get that to get that depth of stretch that the hip gets. But most of us aren't working on the bone density of the armpit. We're working on the hip, right? The hip, the femur, the spine. So as we're reaching, let your head relax. Notice if you're tightening at the neck. You can make the blankets higher, and you certainly don't have to keep your arm reaching. It's good to get a measure of, okay, this side has some range of motion, check. But if you feel like you want to move your arm open, down, or resting the right arm, it's okay to rest. So breathing slow. And just feeling the side body. If you feel it's a dull moment after 30 seconds or so, just simply connect to the sensations of the side body. Right, we're getting kind of a full body treatment, so we don't want to forget the sides. So take a few moments here with the side body long. Okay, now with that right arm reaching from being overhead if it is, or if it's down by the hip, see if you can raise the right arm up. Okay, so there is some change in circulation in the arm, kind of volume in the arm, moving it towards the ceiling if it's possible. And then bend the right elbow, shrug the shoulder back and around. Just try to get some circulation in the armpit area, because we get that squeezing and draining if the elbow bends on the right arm and you're just taking some slow circles. Similar as if you were sitting upright and you were shrugging your shoulder and rolling it back. Same thing, you're just on your side, but it's a nice way to get some circulation in the armpit chest area. Okay? Because if I'm sitting up, everything drops down. If I'm on my side, just changes the flow in the body, the directional flow. Okay, now we're going to come around to hands, knees. We'll take an up dog. Okay, so let's kind of work through this front tundra. We're going to turn. This is a twist on its own. So when I come around to hands, knees, we're going to place the weight. I try to equalize it on my hands and my knees, but it's probably never really truly equal. just because of how we walk along in our frame, right? We're mostly walking on our feet, not our hands. So I probably don't really understand this movement into my arm body as much as my leg body, just from the total amount of time walking in my feet. So when I take the knees to separate, this could be an interesting one actually. If you put the ball center of the thigh, it can't be between the knees, and it has to be a little bit up and not too high up. So just kind of just above so you can actually push into the ball. Okay. So now you're going to have an energy of moving in with the legs versus kind of arching and just pushing into the low back. So hands under shoulders, bring your thighs a little closer so you actually feel the energy of, okay, I'm holding on to something. We used to use blocks, but the ball is a little more responsive of a surface. So when you have your feet maybe touching, you're going to round your back, so carving through your back muscles. And you might stay with the round for a few extra breaths. And then we'll come into arching. Okay, and if you begin to feel in the start of this one that your rounding really isn't as truly comfortable. I know I said we're going into up dog. We will eventually. Okay, but I want to kind of get us warmed into that layer. So my back muscles are elongating. And as I arch, my ribs are stretching forward and up. Okay. Now feel that forward and up direction with the ribs, because we'll add that when we come into up dog. Okay, now take the ball out because it's kind of hard to do up dog with that. We're going to slide the legs back and we're going to reach our hip bones down on the bolster. Okay, now I am too close to my wall, so I'm going to scoot a little bit away. It's okay to feel the wall with the feet, but not feel the impact that you can't really go further into the stretch. So when I have my hands pushing, I find that sometimes bending my elbows a little bit, turning my hands out is definitely interesting. Kind of spreading the hands so that you're pushing into the roots of the fingers. Okay, just be a few moments here. Let's complement this one by moving our blankets in, okay, and putting our elbows on the blankets. Now, what could you do without, if you don't want to use your blankets, you can use your blocks under your elbows, which I like a lot too. So, but my blankets just seem like they're there. So press down into the elbows, okay? Feel the front of the thighs, resting. See if you can find a way to relax your glute muscles. So instead of kind of tightening in the glute muscles to try to keep the forward lift, relax the glutes, and then let your head lower down so the chin towards the chest. So it's an opposite part of the body that's in cat-cow here, chin towards chest. And then we're going to push down into the elbows and just lift our head up. Try to move through the cervical vertebrae, the upper vertebrae, and then gently move your chin towards your chest. So squeezing, chin in. Push down into your elbows, move your head forward and up. Okay, and feel what the right amount of up for your neck. Last one. And now we come down, chin towards the chest. Okay, now as you come back to neutral, now that there's some heat in the arms, like from the elbow up to the shoulder. Now when you come back, you're going to come into Sphinx pose, so the blankets are away. This is kind of interesting because as I do Sphinx pose with the bolster like this, it's a little different when the bolster is lengthwise. So press back into your feet, let your toes hook under. Okay, if you've got a wall that has its positives and negatives on this one. So toes under, and then elbows down so you really warm up into your shoulders. Okay, now bring your knees to rest down. Slide the hands back and contract the glutes to come up. It's a world of difference in your back. Okay, now with the hips forward, breathe. And then come back to table. Let your toes hook under, right? To turn them under to come into down dog. Turn your bolster, because this will be nice to have something to touch towards. Lift the hips up, lift the feet to press. I like the heels up at the wall a lot for this one. And that way I can get my hips higher and my spine has a little more elongation and my back muscles are more rested that way. So the higher my hips go. So of course I'm using the bolster under my head. Now you might go, wait, I can't get my bolster there. To my head. I can get my head to my bolster, right? That's pretty difficult too. Put a block under it. Okay. Come down, put a block under it. See if that works. You can put 2 blocks. And if you find this isn't working, we're going to have an option here. Okay, so now we're going to walk our feet towards the bolster and the hands back towards the feet. And as your feet are a little wider than hips distance, turn the feet so that they're parallel. I'm hoping you're not pivoting them out or turning them in very much. Press down through the roots of the toes and then let your arms be forward and reaching. So if you happen to have that bolster, lifted like you have a ramp, it's nice. The ramp is really nice, especially for those of us that have over forward bended, right? Because now I have to go back up a little bit and work with the significant muscles in my back that maybe I just kind of are just not really exercised very often. So I'm creating a little bit of strength for the anti-gravity muscles. And then as your head lowers down, breathing. And if all of this is too much, like trying to reach forward, come back to a wall and just let your hips reach back to the wall and be there. That can feel also really good. So take a few moments, let your spine respond to the stretch. The back muscles, besides the spine, is really what you feel. It's not your spine. It's the muscles. It's the soft tissue. Okay, so feel your feet push into the floor. That's an interesting one. Feel like the feet all the way up the body of the back of the legs into the hips. Try to do that without hunching your shoulders in. I find I kind of tighten my shoulders when I push into my feet sometimes. I know. As long as you've been in your body or feel like, I didn't think I could feel new sensations, but actually they get more interesting, don't they, as time goes on. Okay. Now bending your knees, figure out how you might get to the floor with your hands. How are they going to get to the floor? So as I bend the knees, I walk my feet back. That's door 1. And then I have to find the floor because the bolster is not going to be the most responsible support for me. So I get rid of the block and then I go on forward. I bring my feet back. I find that kind of alternating arms forward, feet back, like when you learn to crawl. And then you come down to hands, knees, tops of the feet relax, round the back into cat. Find just the right amount of cat pose, right? Just the right amount of curl. And then feel the ribs stretch forwards. Okay, take one more baby back bend, knees apart, bolster lengthwise, stretch down with the torso, and then I want you to bring the arms back besides the hips or the thighs, however far your arms reach down, but they're not touching the legs, specifically. Feel the shoulders reach back, squeezing towards the spine, and the arms straight back. Okay, and breathe. You might actually feel this one, feeling a lot of strength, right, from doing this in your back muscles. Okay, bring your elbows down beside your bolster, Sphinx pose, lifting up through the neck. Feel that quality of connection in the shoulders, in the moment ahead. Contracting the glutes a little bit, right, strengthen besides the pelvis, right? You can feel muscles out besides, okay, glutes. And then bring your arms back and shrug the shoulders and roll them back. Breathing. It only helps. It's all temporary, okay? Try to resting into the knees. See if you can let the knees rest, but you still contract your glutes. I laugh because some of those instructions are like, okay, relax my knees on the floor, contract my glute muscles. Okay. Now, hands, palms down, elbows by sides. Lifting up slowly. See if you can go up a little slower. Sometimes that makes a big difference. Okay. Be there for a few moments. Up dog. Yeah, I think I like the bolster. I think both ways, lengthwise or across. Not sure. Okay, come back to the tabling and then turn the bolster. Okay, so now we're going to have basically a table for the ribs. Okay, so turn to your right hip. Take the ball. All you need is the ball right now to the right ribs, and then thighs resting together, elbow on the floor, right elbow. And then we're going to take some rotations. Okay, and just be, you might even close your eyes and just feel where is this feeling? For me, the left side is a little more sensitive when I twist in. This side is pretty good both directions, but when I turn open, that feels really healthy in my back, my pelvis, my ribs. So noticing what chest openers and back bends do intrinsically, right, for the in some way for the nervous system, right? Because it's not super stressful. If you do them slow and gentle, they create a little bit more strength for your anti-gravity muscles, the muscles that assist you in slouching. Okay, feel that turn. Okay, and last couple. And I find that when I'm turning, I'm trying to also use the ball because, the skin responds best to this pressure and glide. Okay, it's a softball. So it is kind of deepish pressure, right? But it's not painful pressure like a harder ball. So now when we come out of this one, we're going to take the ball and place it under the left knee. And you might need a block on the other side if you're a block user for this one. If you don't use a block for side sage, don't worry about it. Just a blanket stack. I bring them in pretty close. I take the top one and fold it up. Okay, because I'm finding that I just don't want my neck to be uncomfortable. And I would say stand up first before you get too passive in it. It's hard to do some weightlifting, right, while you're trying to relax a part of the body. Okay, now once you're there, there's no guarantee the height is going to be perfect on your second side. It doesn't mean the same height on the second side, exact same. So you have to kind of collect your feelings around the neck. How does this feel? Like, be honest, right? Does my neck feel like it's tightening? Does the back of my head, my ears, any of these sensory areas? And these are, again, this is one of the lymphatic points, right? The C1, C2, so neck, throat area, right? So try to let it relax. And then let your left arm extend overhead. Or move it around, right? You can move it around. If you feel like a destination for your arm isn't helpful, then scratch that one. Okay, just keep it in movement. And feel as you decide to let that arm either rest down, either down to the hip or the bolster overhead. And take some time to follow the breath to its ends, both directions. If you're holding your neck up anyway, maybe you're just lifting more on one side than the other. Purposely you want to relax in your neck. Okay, now when we begin to come along here from this shape on our side, we're going to start to work into kind of pelvis, upper layer, rib, collar. So feel from right here how you can feel that from hip, ribs, collar, right? You can still work on this opening rotation on your side. Okay, I think these are a little more bigger feelings, like thicker span of the combination of bones and muscle, because the muscle is really expanding and getting kind of more hydrated here when we're lying on the bolster and leaning. It's a little more juicy, right? So when we come up, we have to really work on our posture, on our ability to lift up out of the pelvis. Okay, so we'll do the best we can and enjoy it too. So you might just move your sandbag away and just let it rest down. And as you roll to that right side, you're going to come up. And if you've got a bunch of props behind you, like your belt and your block, grab it, because we're going to need the belt for sure. We're going to come up to sitting on our bolster. Okay, so slow, slow. So now we were recently here, left arm up. So get your blankets. I might need a blanket behind me to put my hand on. We'll find out. Okay, so first things first, sitting forward mode. Okay, you want to sit center on the bolster. Okay, we haven't done a cobbler's pose, so let's do cobbler. Cobbler's a good thing to do. Soles of the feet together. Feel what it's like to do cobbler, trying to lift up versus drop in, like leaning. So I want you to put a block under each thigh. So my block position, you can't quite see, I'm sitting. I'll turn to you. Okay. So my block position is under my thighs. Okay. My knees are out. Okay, and I'm trying to work my way towards, first things first, upright, and then we'll be doing our leanings and so forth. But find a moment where you can feel, I mean, we all have tendencies to kind of push our ribs, or three of the ribs are dominating on this one. Over the years of practice, you might go, okay, yeah, I feel those, but the others, I don't know what they're doing. So spend the energy on making sure the legs are supported. And then you'll see the curves in the spine. I mean, you can't see them like when you're looking forward, right? We can't see our spine, but probably closing our eyes can be really helpful. Okay. So sense this. I think a sandbag on this one can be interesting on the feet, but I'm going to go kind of without any additional props. So hands are going to be behind you. Now, if your hands are on the bolster, great. If your hands are going to reach to the blankets behind you, you can pull them in a little bit if that's better for you. I probably might be better for anyone who's taller than me. Okay, everybody. So shoulders are going to move back, not necessarily back and trying to push them down. So just feel back. Move the shoulders back, that you have a back. Okay. Okay, now feeling that lift of the rib space. Okay, we're going to bring our hands to the ribs, kind of around kidney area and then a little bit above, like you're holding into the waist area here on the sides, but the thumbs are to the back. Okay, they're a little bit above the kidneys. And then as I lean forward, I'm going to pull, kind of push with my hands and kind of move it down, kind of move it down as I lean forward, hinging at my hips. Okay. So instead of jamming your elbows on the knees, just feel a little bit of hold here at the back of the waist, like traction. Okay, now inhale, lifting up. So just lift the chin up towards the ceiling, cervical vertebrae, happy as could be, and then tilt forward. It's kind of like bowing, right? A little bit like bowing. Cobbler bowing. Okay, inhale, lifting up. We'll just do a couple. Elbows back, try to get the shoulders back. All my shoulders, and then forward. And feel this one time when you're forward to get the shoulders back. Okay, now come on up. Stretch the right leg out. We're going to get the block off to the side. I'm going to recommend you put a ball under your right knee. Okay, now my left leg, I'm going to keep it kind of how I had the half cobbler there. Now I have half cobbler. Instead of trying to pull my knee and just jam it over to the left and get as much turn. I'm going to keep it the same as I had the cobbler. I'm just not going to, my right leg is out. Okay. So I want you to take a sandbag. Okay. These are going to feel kind of limited, like you're not pushing the edge, but we're going to do basic, not complex. Sand on the top of that left thigh. And then as I take a turn, I'm trying to keep my lower back happy, right? It's in that cobbler state from my, if I touch back to the sacrum bone, down out to the side of the sacrum, that area stays in this position, okay? Then at my ribs, that's turning a little left, just a little, right hand to left knee, left hand back, that's enough, right? And just see if you can be there without too much pushing or extra leverage here. Breathe, maybe closing your eyes. Okay, now as you come back center, you're going to take your belt and we're going to reach the belt under our right foot. So I recommend maybe just bend your right knee, put your belt under your foot so it's easier to get a hold of it. Then the ball goes back under the knee as you straighten the leg out. And then grab a hold of that belt and I want you to pull on it with your right hand. You're going to bend your right elbow and you're going to let the left arm stretch up. And lean a little bit to that right side. So try to get that side body to stretch. You can bring your left arm now behind your back and then feel the side stretching. Just a few breaths. Real simple. Okay, come back up with the crown of the head. Okay, feel the container in the center, navel area awake. Turn forward. Take that right leg in the belt, right? The belt's at the foot. Hold it firm. Pull with the elbows by the side so my leg is off the floor now. My right foot is up. My sitting bone is on the bolster, but my leg is up. So I'm trying to push into the belt really firm. Push, 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 push. Find that resistance, like you're trying to pull and push and pull and push and pull. And then feeling that orientation of the elbows bending. Try to sit tall with the ribs active here. Breathe. Okay. Core work. And then bend your right knee. Carefully lower that foot down besides the left foot. All right, then we just switch sides. Left leg goes out. Sand over on the right thigh. Ball goes under the left knee. So I started the cobbler and I'm not pushing my knee far away, right? I think a block under the right knee is really helpful. Okay. So take a moment here. So again, sacrum, so my low back, even if I put my hands on my back like here, and I take my turn, my twist to the right. And if you don't like the sandbag on the thigh, you don't have to use it. Okay. So left hand to that right knee. That's enough rotation. I'm trying to develop that movement in my ribs to turn. So any type of twists are extension of abdominal strength and muscle, right? Muscle and strength. So I'm trying to keep this mild rotation here. Right hand back. Okay, breathing. Try to feel circulation moving up the body towards the crown of the head versus everything pushing into your seat and your leg muscles. Try to kind of get that inner world lifting, uplifting. I know as we get older, that gets more and more challenging, right? Because gravity will have you. So you might just start with visualizing it, okay? And that could be it. Like, okay, I'm going to try. This is challenging. Feel the width of the breath, the expansion, and the elongation. Nice work. Okay. Now relax your grip. Okay, take the belt. Okay. Sometimes I'll keep my side rotation here a little bit, and then I'll bend the left knee and I'll scoop up the foot with my belt. And just kind of inch into it, just kind of observe, okay, reaching, hand holding, turning, and then I bend the left elbow. But again, you want to be really, versus taking the instruction and applying it to your body, like as if it works all the time. It doesn't work all the time. So you get kind of, okay, that's where we're going. I'm going to feel in my body and make the choice. Okay, I'm going to lean a little bit. Maybe you're going to pull with your left arm so that left bicep contracts a little bit. And then maybe reach it. Right. Gentle is the new advanced, right? So I'm going to push into my foot and flex the left foot a little more so it's not so passive. Push into my foot, pull with my hand, find just the right ratio of intensity here, just the right amount. Breathe. Okay, right arm goes behind you if it hasn't already. Okay, it doesn't have to go very far. Okay, now there's a pull with your left hand, and then you're going to turn the waist straight forward. I wasn't very far, huh? And then move the left leg forward. So find a combination of hip muscles and back muscles to get you here. Okay, it's more interesting than it looks inside. So as I'm pulling and I'm pushing, and I'm trying to lift it a little bit. Okay, if the left leg ain't going anywhere, that's okay. But find the right amount of support with your right leg. So I got my sand on it. What this side for me, I feel like I have to move my ribs a little bit more forward to feel like my muscles in the lower back of the pelvis are comfortable. But it's okay to work with that strength in the pelvic floor. So find that resistance, breathing. Okay, and as you're pulling, pull, 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 then bend the left knee. Okay, and we're going to get both feet in the belt. So what we'll do is we'll take the block aside from the right leg, the sand aside, and we're not trying to round our back here. This is the biggest challenge of this one. So I got both feet in the belt, straight forward. This is called Paschimottanasana. Okay, all right, not that that means a lot, but when I'm reaching forward, I'm taking the belt up to the balls of the feet. Okay, and I'm just kind of remembering, these are the feet I walk in. These are my feet. So when I push, I'm trying to kind of like push into the gas here a little bit. So push, rev it up a little bit, get that foot active, or that uni foot. Okay, bend your elbows, and I want you to lift the chest up and hinge at the hips. And you're taking a forward fold without slumping in your back. This is my max. Right, once I come a little farther forward, I think I hinge too much. I round, okay? So it's perfect, right? I feel the legs wake up. If this is no good on your knees, you can put a block or a blanket under the legs. I'm putting a block just above the back of my knees, so I'm hinging. This is a little better for my hip flexors because I tend to grip those a lot. So take a moment. We'll get the hip flexors happy in just a second here. Really fill up the energy in the backs of the legs. Okay. You got to hinge a little bit to get the energy in the legs. You can't just sit way back, right? You got to go a little forward, right? It's amazing how little it takes to feel it. Okay. So you think your hamstrings are full now. Okay, here we go. Hamstrings are us. So we're going to take the belt off, but I want you to make sure your belt's connected in a big loop. Okay, connected. Where you get upside down and have to do things upside down. Okay, so take the block aside, make sure you got plenty of space below you so you don't hit the wall. And you got one blanket behind you, okay? And then your blocks are besides your bolster on the short end, so it's easy to get them. You need a ball. Okay, so you're gonna move your tailbone to the edge of the bolster and you're gonna lower back. All right. Some days easier than others to get that direction. It does change. Okay, so, but once you get that bolster under the back, it designs, especially some of these, the hugger muggers are really good. I'll walk around a classroom and watch people with the different bolsters. I completely swear on hugger mugger. Okay, all right. So bring the belt to your feet. So when in doubt, if you're getting to a point where you're not feeling your bolster supporting you, I highly recommend you have a good bolster, okay? It makes a difference for your back, okay? If they wear out, you probably want to upgrade. All right, so you're going to get your belt in a big loop, and you're going to push your feet out wide. And that's a substantial amount of width for me, and I probably could go a little bit smaller loop. Not so wide of a stance. So how you're going to decide is how you feel. It's not going to be anything more than that. So if you feel like, geez, this is just too much pressure, you just make it smaller and smaller. Okay? You be the decider. Okay. So my feet are up in a leg float. Legs are up and my feet are out. If you can't see, I just got my feet on my belt straight up and out. Okay. Now, if you go further out, I don't think that's going to make your back happier, because the more you go out, the more narrowing the sacroiliac. It's just going to go. So you just don't want to go too massive on that one. Okay. So as we let the back muscles, even this time, these moments we're aging, right, more than when we started class. So just kind of feel how the body absorbs the spongy quality right now in the lower back and back of the pelvis. So if you don't like the support of the bolster, you don't have to use it. You could have a blanket. Just a thin, quarter full blanket under the pelvis is good too. Okay. So we're going to let the arms open. Give yourself a little space for the elbows out to the sides. Take a few breaths here. Elbows out, shoulders back and down, and breathing. And just load the pose. Let the body kind of load. Does the blanket need to go a little higher up behind you? Do you prefer the blanket rolled under your neck so you can open up through the throat and help the cervical vertebrae? We all have different, history with our neck and different issues. So you might want to notice, okay, for right now, if it feels okay. So bring some concentration to the back of the skull, right at the occiput, that shelf right above the brainstem. Kind of notice if that can just relax, kind of soften, heavy. Okay, bend your knees and reach up to the belt. Okay, you might have to really go with knees out wide to get that belt. Okay, now as you grab a hold, you're going to slide the feet together. Okay, and pull a little bit on the belt. Like just pull. Okay, you can have your hands in the belt like the palms together. I tend to just grab a hold of the belt and pull. Okay, get to the amount of connection where you feel the back of the pelvis is resting on the bolster, like your tailbone's kind of pushing into it a little bit. This is a good pad for the tailbone, the bolster. It's definitely thick enough, and it allows you to get a little more circulation around the sacroiliac here. Okay, now if you're feeling like, I like this right now, I don't want to change, you can stay in this one as long as you like. Okay, but we're going to add a little shift. So we're going to lower the left leg down out of the belt so the left leg extends. First things first, I'm going to bend my right knee enough and grab my sandbag. My belt's still under my right foot. Grab my sandbag and place it on the top of the left thigh. Kind of scoot it down so the top of the left thigh has that sand. And then with your belt under your right foot's way up there, it's far away. You get to decide, are you going to hold onto your belt with your hands, or you're going to make that loop big enough that you can place it to the center, a little up from the center of the back of your skull. I would say make sure the belt loop is big enough that you could just bring it over your, like just to touch the crown of your head. That's a good guesstimate. And then you could scoop up your head with it. Okay, just make sure it's long enough. Okay, now that feels a little short for me, meaning my hamstring is responding. So you get to decide the intensity here. And this left leg may need to bend. You might find, oh, that cranks on this side of my back, or because everything's going to affect everything else, right? This leg goes up, this rib goes down. The ribs are going in similar directions, but left side has a different energy than the right side. Okay, so let your arms open. Okay, or rest them on the bolster. That's a rare choice, but sometimes interesting. And as the weight of your head leans back into the belt, slowly breathing and just feeling sensations, right? There may be many. If you haven't done much extensions for the hamstring, and this might be quite a load of sensation right now. So you can make it a little less by bending the top leg. You can soften it. That's okay. You can bend the opposite leg and go, oh, I'm basking in a little more kindness to my hamstring right now. It's just a little better. But give yourself some time to reverse that directional flow back to the heart and the brain. And I sometimes bring my head purposely all the way to the blanket, and I just have it there. It just feels more comfortable with a little traction, but not too much. And I don't want to be tightening my neck anymore. I don't think there's a good point to that one, right? And now feeling how a transition can happen here. So yeah, that's the science of it. How do we make these transitions really feel comforting, right? So when you shift your sand on that left thigh, I think placing it across the belly is pretty good. Then switch the leg that's up. Hold the back of your head. Don't let that belt go away. Lower the right foot down. Okay. And then stretch the leg down. And you might be finding by now in the class, like, I feel the differences on side A and side B. And some of these things are very interesting to try to help me get more balance. So this series today is pretty interesting for right and left side differences. So, you might come back to another time. The recordings are going to be on YouTube. So you might go, oh, I think there's something to that first 30 minutes for me, or just to try to analyze. Sometimes you get some good help out in the world, but sometimes you're going to be left on your own to figure it out anyway. So feel the left leg elevation. What works for you? Is it bending the knee a little bit more? Is it extending the leg? I have the same length on this side that I've proposed to my left leg, but it feels different when I try to lower my head to the blanket. And it's different degrees of awareness in my muscle. The other side was very aware, like really I could feel it. Muscularly, this feels a little more dull. Okay, but I still know it's resisting because it doesn't have the same amount of flexibility. So sometimes the side you have more range of motion has more sensation. Sometimes the side that doesn't, doesn't have the sensation, but clearly is weaker. So it is quite fascinating to go through this work, the process of life. Okay, as your body is processing the pose, again, you can make changes. You could loosen it up, right? It's side 2 for heaven's sake. Maybe you do need more length. Maybe you're like, give yourself a little bit of support. You got a whole system right now to help you. You got a belt holding your head. If you don't like this belt under your head, you don't have to do that. You can hold the belt in your hands and stretch overhead. A great option. Many people, this is what they do every time. They do not put the belt behind their head. They don't like it. Okay. Now, if your left leg is really pushing through the back of the knee, feel a little micro bend, a little nano bend in the knee. Feel that awareness. Now with the sand on that right thigh, we're just going to push it away. Okay. And I want you to take a hold of the belt with both hands, slide it off the back of your head, rest your head on the blanket, and then hold the belt with your right hand. Left leg is up, right? Bend the right knee. this is important. This is probably the most important piece. Right knee bends, so I slide my foot up, sole of the foot on the floor, right foot. Then I carefully cross the leg, but everything from my hip down is rolling to the right. I'm too close to the wall, so I'll scoot a little bit, but it's rolling to the right from the parts on my bolster, not on my ribs. I'm going to try to keep them open. Definitely good work to have the bolster under the pelvis, but try to keep the ribs open. Okay, and just kind of calculate, okay, my left shoulder is trying to stay down. If it doesn't like that, try to shrug your shoulder up and down, roll it back, just see if you can get some of those kind of nooks and crannies of ultra gripping to soften. Bend the left knee, bring it back in center, and then center on the bolster. Bring your right foot up into the bolster. And then, I know you feel like you're a little baby kind of playing with your feet on that one. Okay. All right, left foot slides in, right leg is straight-ish. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. But when I cross over, both of my legs are leaning to the left, especially this lower leg. Some people will have this where the leg will be straight, and then they'll cross over and tighten the sacroiliac. It will be more grippy in your hippie, like to call it, if you have the bottom leg straight. So let everything be soft, bending. There's no guarantees, right? You're going to get very far over, but what are you trying to go? You're trying to go in to support hydrating and circulating in the hip and the lower back. And it's going to get even better. This final spinal part I really like. Okay, so just working with how we weave into the hip. Remember, your chest is open on this one, or it's trying to. Okay, now bend the right knee, bring both knees back center. In fact, bring them in and take the belt off your foot. And let's grab our ball. Your blocks may have been pushed to the side, so don't lose them. If your blocks are gone, they got lost somehow, they slid away, bring them close right next to your bolster, short end. Ball between the knees. And then knees go side to side. Now let the hip lift. So if I go to the left, my right hip lifts. Okay. And your arms could be close to the bolster. You know, as you age, just be sensitive to not kind of whipping into these shapes, right? Go slow. Okay. Yoga can be harmful and it can be really healing too. It can be both. So you have to be slow and go, okay, we're doing restorative, so it's generally healing all the way, but sometimes you overdo it. So really make your task right now be to squeeze the ball and go side to side. Okay, squeeze the ball and go side to side. And now when you're going across the back of the pelvis, you want to create that heat into the back. That's why the bolster is under you right now. So once we go to the floor next, we're not going to have that same wide pressure, okay? So when you come back into center, keep the ball center of the knees as you lower back. So bring your knees to your chest. Push the bolster down away from the back of the pelvis. And then your feet go on top of the bolster. Okay, now make sure it's not too far away, not too close, right? You don't want the bolster in your rear. So, but if you push it too far away, then you have to scoot towards it. All right, so elbows down by the sides like you got robot arms. Okay, and lift the hips up and lower back down. Okay, now instead of going too high up on the back to begin, go with small because we haven't really done a full bridge pose yet. Even though our first pose was technically a bridge pose, but it's a bridge too far from that one. Okay, so when you go up with the hips next time or two, whenever you get there, I want you to kind of find where you're not quite to your maximum hip lift off. You're kind of in between pushing off the floor, pushing into your feet, where you integrate a lot of the rear muscles. Okay. Now reach the arms overhead with or without your blanket under your head. You're the decider. Okay. So you get a little more circulation to your upper back. Okay, now lower down the spine. And once your spine meets the ground all the way at the tailbone, land and feel the little bit of arch of the pelvis. No longer do you have the bolster under it. So you might notice, oh, I can feel that tailbone and the sacrum. They're best friends, right? But you can create more circulation there. Don't overdo it. Now, as you push into your feet, I want you to lift up, squeeze the ball, push into your feet, squeeze the ball, lift the hips up, arms go overhead, inhale, good, and then exhale, arms, they're gonna come down last, so don't expect them to suddenly speed up and get to the floor, but to be patient, because the arm movement is really interesting. Right when my hands are close to my legs, that's where I find it very curious in my back. Then I breathe and then I lower down those little parts of my back. And then my hands lower to the floor. So if you're going to be patient about anything today, give the next two your full attention. So let's do one or two more. If you're really slow at this, you'll do one more. I like to go really slow with these. Arms go overhead. Breathe. And then let your spine get all that weight bearing that it can. It doesn't get that during the day, right? It gets the weight of your head on top of it. And then the postural challenges ensue. So right now, just feel that weight, one vertebrae at a time, weight bearing. Okay. All right, now next time you lower down, you're going to bring your knees to your chest, but you don't have to push them in that far. Just grab a hold of the ball, and then we'll put our feet on the bolster and lift the hips up and roll the ball under the sacrum. So base of the spine, okay? You decide what part. If you want the ball a little lower, that's totally up to you. I find as I roll across, my hips moving like I'm wagging my tail side to side. That feels pretty good when I press and glide, right? And it's a little higher than when I roll on just the glutes. It's not on my glutes, so, but it's a little higher for that massage. So I find it's different day to day. It's like today, it's like maybe last time I did this, I had the ball a little bit lower. I don't know. It just depends on what feels soothing, okay? And the softer ball lets the tissue melt and soften, right? I think these are great balls for this, right? The skin responds best to this type of, it's a more complete surface that we get to touch into with these larger balls versus a tennis ball, which kind of hurts. Okay. So now let's get that ball to the right glute. So I'd say kind of take it easy here. This is one technique I will do. I'll put my right foot on my ankle, my right ankle on my knee. And I like this movement because it's like I cross my foot up. I'm not hitting my kneecap, by the way. It's just above my knee. And then I'll kind of glide my left hip over to the left side. And I'll move the ball to the right buttock. Okay? Then I push my weight on that ball and I'm rolling across. Okay, that's one way. Another way would be what you push into your feet and you put the ball to the right glute. But I like finding ways to get into the curve of these muscles. So it's not as much contraction. In other words, when you are getting massage, so you're trying to massage your glute, right? If you were to massage it, the massage therapist wouldn't say, contract your glute and then let's massage it. It'd be soften it. And so this is where we put our foot over to the knee and then we soften and we roll across it. That's an idea. But to see how that helps you, let me know. Okay, so crossing and rolling, okay, gliding across the muscle. The ball has a really broad surface across the connective tissue. And then you can put both feet on the bolster and draw across. And then get ready to go to side two. Okay, another way. Here we go. I'm going to roll over to my left rear. It's going to go down to the floor. I'm going to grab the ball to the right side, tip my knees to the right, and then sneak the ball into my left side. Left foot crosses over or it doesn't. Okay. This one, it makes more sense for me just to kind of mount up on the ball and then put my left foot to the right knee. That makes more sense. So when you've lived in your body for a while and you've done some of this stuff, right, I think you just start playing with it and you find ways that are less tensifying. Sometimes classes help. Well, that's a good idea. That works. And you might come up with some new idea you'll have to share with the group. Okay. You think there's only so many ways you can do this, but it's amazing how you can find new ways. It's like a new kind of math. It's like you create a new with all these parts in the body. So feel the touchdown on the ball. I think that's really key is where am I pushing into this ball? Where is the ball pushing into me? Right? It's pushing into these muscles that are fired up all day to walk me around. Really tired area. Right. It's very tight. Yeah. So it feels good to roll on it. And now let's go into a restorative pose with it. So you're going to glide down. If you feel like you missed out on more rolling on this side, keep a rock and rolling. Okay, it's rocking movement, right? To roll on the glute. It's definitely rock and roll. Okay, so take the bolster, kick it over to the right side of your mat. Okay, you're going to have your bolster on the right side, and you're going to cross the left leg over to it. And you get to be the decider. You're like, well, do I want to keep the ball? I like the ball. I think the times I've tried it both ways, multiple times, and I really think the ball is much more sensitive to my sacroiliac. I think just that little bit of touch is quite interesting. If I don't have it, it feels like it's kind of in space without any support. Okay, so one blanket under your head. Get a sandbag if you like and place it carefully, maybe further from the hip than you think sometimes. It's not always like the same every time. Maybe you have to be right in the moment and go, wait a minute. Close my eyes and feel putting the sand on my side of my thigh and decide, okay, maybe it's pulling your sacrum too much. Maybe right above at the IT band basin, right above the side of the knee can be really good. Some people turn it across the knee, I've seen. Okay, some really high up. That feels perfect for my hip. Okay, so get that sandbag if you're using it on the perch of the left thigh, the side of the leg, from the hip to the knee, you choose. Let the left arm open and rest your hand on the left side of the breathing muscles, right? Your intercostals, opening right the rib space with your inhale. So feeling how the ribs move. You might not feel anything spinally pressing, but the muscles along the sides are going to respond. So best focus is to breathe well. Even if this is the only time you have slow breaths, right, consistent over time. Okay, now as we start to shift, consider using the ball. Okay, so we'll move the sand aside, over to the right side, so it'll be easier to move it to the right hip. Bring your knees to point up, and you might put the ball to that left glute and massage into it. I'm going to put it just at my sacrum. That feels good right there. I'm just going to land on the ball, and that's it. Just let all that circulation move up into that lower spot in my back. Just feeling a little bit of that curve of my back. And then I'll move the bolster. Sometimes I'll do this and I'll do just small lifts of my feet, just the smallest from the ground to kind of wake up into the psoas, just small, 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 not stomping or marching or anything. Just little lifts to feel the response in my abdominal muscles. But most important, I'm sinking into the ball, okay? That's the most important part, is sink into it. Okay, just put all your weight on it. Bolster to side 2. And then you're going to let your knees bend. You're going to, now this is similar to when we were on the bolster, our pelvis was on the bolster and we were swinging the legs over. You want the bottom leg to bend plenty. Okay. In fact, it's going to feel pretty much like you're in this fetal position, but you have the top leg on the bolster so it can bring a little more sensation into your, well, actually, it's going to bring a little more strength when you have sand on it, on the femur and the hip, right? Because it's up and there's resistance, right? When it's up and you have it up, even though the bolster's holding it up. I mean, your bones are still, and your muscles are still going to contract a bit when the leg is, right? They're not going to just be asleep. So you create that resistance, right, with the leg lifted off the floor, even though you got a bolster under it. And then as the sand is applied, again, the ball might be a little lower, a little higher on your second side. You know, I would say respect where you're at in the moment. If it's a little lower, a little higher, just go to what feels best. And then when you feel that rib space stretching in between, your right arm opens and your head rolls to the right. You can have the left hand touching the rib space. You decide. Final couple poses here. And just feeling when your head rolls to the right as much as you prefer, right? Don't feel like you have like an end range you have to go to. There's no goal. Okay, now we move the sand first and the ball second. And we're going to roll to the left. Yeah, don't make it shocking on the sacrum. Just come on up. Bring your knees over to that left side. When you come up, you're going to either take your bolster and place it on 2 blocks or place it right up against the wall, touching the wall. Now, it is true that if you have your bolster away from the wall, it's still an inversion, right? You don't have to have it touching the wall. You're still going to be upside down. Maybe it's easier on your hamstrings to have more distance. So if you have relatively tense hamstrings, you're probably not going to be able to have the bolster right against the wall. But a relative to this pose, the pose's relative is bolster bench. So if you want to do the relative pose, put your bolster on blocks and put your legs up like this, okay? And rest back with your blanket under your head. Okay, perfect option. Okay, or what do we call it? The sister pose. I like the relative. Okay, so have a sandbag. If you're on your bolster bench one, then you have a sandbag across your shins, which is really nice. Or across your diaphragm, so right below your ribs. If your legs are up the wall, you're probably going to feel more comfortable with your sand. And I feel comfortable with my hips a little bit away from the wall right now. This feels just perfect. I'm gonna let it be so. So with my sand on my feet, and there's some separation there, I've got my legs straight up, or sort of. I mean, they're pretty much straight up. They're not entirely, vertical. But when I lower back into my rib space, similar to where I started, there's probably a little bit more, the frequency is a little better from the beginning of class. So, and it might be really subtle. Could be like, it's like a subtle difference, just the right amount. So arms could be open if you're chilly. Remember, put on some layers or let your hands rest on your core. Sometimes that can feel good. I like the idea of putting energy towards the kind of lumbar lymph nodes here. So letting my hands rest on the sides, but my elbows relaxed on the ground, on the sides of my abdomen, and just feeling. So I have my hands closer towards like navel's right and center. So pretty far to the belly area, and just feeling that zone of movement with the belly. The lumbar lymph nodes here. So expanding and relaxing. Now tracing that spatial outline of the legs down into the pelvis. And certainly feeling from the leg parts, the muscular shift in the leg, just reversing that gravitational pull on our legs transfers a really nice dose of circulation in the pelvis, right? Pelvic floor, pelvis, bones, that center of gravity that we are in the pelvic area. So it's really gets all the support right now possible. Opposite of prolapse for the bladder and the pelvic organs. Kind of brings things back up into the center. Yeah, the pelvis owns the legs, I like to think, but the legs pushing back into, thigh bones resting into the hip sockets is pretty interesting right here. Kind of they give back. Okay, we're going to shift in a moment. So if you've got your feet pushing up a little bit, your feet up with the sandbag, you're going to bring your knees to bending. And I would be careful if you toss your sand overhead, just you don't want to pull your pelvis a little bit. So you might just carefully put it off to the side. And then if you're in the middle of the space with your bolster bench, right, you can slowly start to come into a cobbler's pose, knees out, feet together. Or you could decide, nope, a few more moments without my feet being stepped on. Sometimes pushing your feet together does feel like they're being stepped into. Okay, bring the knees back together and then roll to the side. Use your hands to bring you up to sitting and find a sitting position, whether you're on a blanket or your bolster. Roll your shoulders back and down. And bring your hands to join palms to palms or hands over heart. And let's unite our breath, breathing in wellness and exhale.